Okay, so this presentation they're online. So for those of you who were there this morning, the fire escapes are behind you on your left. And if you can make sure your phones are on silent. I don't think there's anyone online except for the presenters, so that should be okay. Presentation should be about 15 to 20 minutes, and there'll be a chance for you to ask any questions at the end then. And yeah, I'll pass it over to Denise and Corinna. They are talking about recruitment and retention in healthcare.
Diolch, Mari. Pnawn da bawb, diolch yn fawr iawn I chi am ymuno yn ei pnawn ma afternoon, and thank you very much for coming along to the session that Denise and I are sharing with you this afternoon. So we're here to talk about how we've gone about reducing nursing turnover in Hywel Dda. So for those of you who perhaps are not familiar with Hywel Dda, hold on, let me just try and move this on. There we are, move the screen on for you. So Hywel Dda Health Board covers the 3 counties in rural kind of southwest Wales.
Sorry, Corinna. I don't think the oh, did the slide go forward? Yeah, that's fine.
I've moved it forward now, so sorry. Yeah, I think it's showing as moving on in your screen, Karina, but it might not in.
Oh, okay, no problem. So when I move mine, move it on this end. I'll let Denise know to move it on her end. Sorry, everyone. So Hywel Dda Health Board covers the 3 counties of Carmarthenshire, Ceredigion and Pembrokeshire. Due to the nature of our vast geographical area and primarily being a rural health board with pockets of urban areas as well, nurturing and retaining our workforce is a particular challenge for us and will be one of the key focuses for our health board over the forthcoming years, particularly in terms of how we recruit and retain staff to our workforce in an ever-changing workforce as well. So recruitment and retention has been for many years a big focus for us in Hywel Dda and will continue to be a key one in the years coming forward. In the following years too. Denise, do you want to move the slide on? So back in 2021, we committed to establishing a task and finish group which would oversee specific projects as a vital element of sustaining and growing our workforce to meet the increasing demands on our services. So we set about establishing, to begin with, a task and finish group specifically focusing on nursing and midwifery. And after careful research, and the research included what our data and our local intelligence was telling us, but we also looked then nationally and internationally to what we could pull from a trends and an analysis perspective of what was happening elsewhere as well. We established the task and finish group and set about a target of reducing our nursing turnover by 1% in the first year of establishing the task and finish group. Around about the same time as Hywel Dda were developing this, RHCW were also developing an all Wales approach to nurse retention. We worked closely with RHCW, as did all the other health boards in Wales at the time, around the nurse retention action plan. Bearing in mind that Hywel Dda had already established an action plan for nurse retention the previous year. But what we decided to do when the All Wales Nursing Action Plan came on board was to map our local one with the All Wales one to ensure that there was alignment there with those national priorities. So that was then done in 2023. And then fortunately, earlier this year, RHCW provided 2-year funding to each health board in Wales to recruit a retention lead. And that's how then Denise came into this post. So Denise's role is specifically focused on the retention programme within Hywel Dda locally, but she's also our key link to the community of practice that's been established across the NHS in Wales around retention. Denise will tell you a little bit more about that later on. And then, yeah, we oversee specific projects as part of this group, and Denise is going to give you some examples about that in a bit. What we've also done following the nurse retention establishment, in 2023, we established a medical retention task and finish group with very similar aims and action plans to our nurse retention. And we're currently in the process and will by the end of 2024 have established our retention task and finish group for allied health professionals and healthcare sciences in Hywel Dda. So our 3 biggest staffing groups will each have their specific retention task and finish groups by the end of 2024. Next slide, Denise. So these are the headings of our action plan. Like I said, they mirror the All Wales action plan to ensure that alignment of priorities. Denise is going to share some project examples with you in a little bit, but essentially what we do is the meeting agendas are set in line with these to update or to share examples on projects or work areas with a particular focus on any areas that are being piloted that have potential to be scaled and spread. So these are the types of things that we follow, and quite a few of these priorities as well are linked to other health board priorities and All Wales and NHS priorities across the whole UK as a whole. So we keep an eye on those kinds of developments then as well to ensure that we've got alignment with anything wider that's happening across the NHS. Slide please, Denise. So in terms of our progress so far, if you take it on to the part where we've got the percentages there, Denise. So we set ourselves an initial target of achieving a 1% reduction in our nursing turnover within the first year. We were really super pleased with the results, which, as you can see, were far we achieved. We have worked with our finance colleagues to try and estimate a cost benefit of this. So our estimate is just over 2.1 million saved in 2023 as a result of savings against agency costs that we would have spent, particularly in relation to our registered nurses, had we not have achieved that 3.76% reduction. And that 2.1 million of estimated cost avoidance then doesn't include any costs associated with recruitment and productivity loss had we have needed to recruit to those vacancies. So we're really pleased with the results achieved. This we can't take full ownership for it from a task and finish group membership perspective, because like I said, we oversee projects, so it was a whole health board wide effort to achieve these results. But everything that we did to achieve these results was all channeled through that task and finish group to really look at and evaluate what have we done. Did we achieve what we set out to achieve? And then that we take that learning then in from a continuous improvement perspective. Okay, Denise, on the next one, please. I'll hand over to you now.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Karina. So just following on from what Karina mentioned there previously about the task and finish groups and some of the project work that we've been engaging in the health board, I've got on the slide here some of the examples of some of the projects that fall under those headings in the action plan. So things like flexible working, flexible retirement, supporting career development, supporting our international colleagues and collecting staff stories as well. So a large part of the project work we've been doing is looking at areas where we need to focus. So for example, flexible working is a really important one, looking at areas of excellence where we do have really great examples of flexible working and where it's being supported, and then also looking at anything that we can do within sort of a task and finish group separately to create maybe toolkits or guidance or information for managers and staff. So there's been some really great projects going on in terms of work that we've done educationally as a health board. So if I use flexible retirement as an example, the Task and Finish group developed to look at flexible retirement in its entirety, created educational videos, and they created like a case study where we have a sort of a manager employee example where they're sort of having a conversation about what flexible retirement would look like, how we go about it, and really using the information that we gather from staff and listening to our staff to find out, you know, what do they need? What are the barriers to kind of, you know, move forward with this? How do we support this in the organisation? We also have a lot around career development. So our LEAP and STAR programmes are supporting nursing staff and other leaders to develop in their roles and in their teams, which has been a fantastic development tool. So helping them really retain their staff and also collecting staff stories as well. So I've got some examples on the next slide, which are really lovely examples of our international colleagues that have joined us. So part of our nursing stabilisation work, we've had an influx of cohorts of our IEN colleagues, and they also need support within the organisation, looking at what they've needed and capturing really great examples of where they've had positive experiences has been really important for us. So if I share the next slide, some of the project work that we've worked on is looking at career development specifically for all our staff, but also in the IEN staffing groups. So we had a lovely conversation with a member of staff, Sonia Jose, who joined us in November cohort. So came to the UK in September 2022 and has been working in our A&E department in Glangwili, and recently she went for a band 6 role and has been recently promoted, and we felt it was really good to kind of capture that story, learn about her experiences, and she's been very open about sharing her positive experience with our people and OD committees, our board recently. So sometimes it's about the project work and sometimes it's highlighting really positive experiences to kind of look at, you know, what is working well and kind of giving that sort of beacon of hope for people to say that, you know, we are looking at career development and there are, you know, pockets and areas of excellence within the health board, which have been fantastic. And then we've also been looking at stories. So as you can see on the lower half of the slide, Ala Saroni, our senior sister in Bronglice Hospital on Meyrig Ward, was quite open about talking about her support for flexible working. She's also got a lovely example of how she supports career development in her team and having career conversations with staff. But we've used the example of flexible working because some of the barriers that we were being fed back to from some of the work that we were doing, the listening groups and the focus groups, were that flexible working sometimes doesn't work on a busy ward. It's difficult to implement. So capturing stories from managers and leaders that have been able to do it and their approach has been a fantastic way of looking at how we encourage that positive behaviour. So it's not just been about projects and looking at where we can sort of implement learning or training, but looking at what's going on already that is amazing, that's already supporting that retention journey has been fantastic. And then having that forum within our nursing group, so our nursing task and finish group, has been a great place to share those examples and also capture those stories, because the biggest part of this as well has been listening to what our staff need. And one of the projects that we're looking at going forward to hopefully support this is a day in the life of. So we're looking at sort of speaking to our student nurses, those that have recently qualified in the organisation, to tell us about their experiences. So I've got sort of a poster here that we created where we're kind of looking at our future workforce, their staff experience, to kind of not only look at how we retain, but how are our new recruits experiencing this? Is there anything that we can do to kind of encourage staff to join us? So it's not just about retention, it's about that recruitment and attrition piece as well. So we've been looking at how do we expand our storytelling in terms of our real staff experiences within the organisation. So that's one of the exciting projects that we've got coming up in our nursing groups coming forward. So there's lots of really nice exciting things things coming through. We're partnering a lot with our QI teams, so quality improvement has been, you know, a big sort of ethos around this. How do we improve the quality of our staff experience? So using some of that methodology and working with HCW on that has been really exciting. So we've done a lot of work already. We've had some great reductions in turnover, but there's a lot coming forward in the next few months, and we're hoping to kind of retain that momentum as we go forward. So hopefully moving on to more exciting projects and work in the future. Also, in addition to this, we have our toolkits, which I will hand over to Karina now to talk about as part of the wider OD work that doesn't just sort of centre around the retention work we've been doing.
So as part of my role, I have the absolute pleasure of overseeing and working closely with Denise around our retention programmes. But I also head up a team of what we call organisational development relationship managers, so ODRMs. This was a first for the NHS in Wales. The introduction of these roles. We're quite a small team, but we're trying to achieve, I believe, really good and aspirational stuff. So as we were coming out of the pandemic, Hywel Dda Health Board really listened with fascination to our staff in terms of what were the components that would contribute to our staff having more good days at work. We worked in partnership with our trade unions and, like I say, engaged deeply with our staff around it. And the 7 key themes which emerged are on the front covers of these toolkits here. With flexible working aside, I'll come on to that one in a bit. So 7 key themes emerged, and it's around having a voice and being heard, well-being, safety and trust, etc. So my OD relationship managers work at a micro team and service level, and immerse themselves in those environments with the managers and with the staff, with any other stakeholders as well, for example, trade unions, to capture pictures, to capture an idea at points in time of how are those staff in those teams, in those services, how are their experiences at work going at that point in time. So we use data and intelligence that we have, and we've also developed a cultural survey in line with these 7 key themes to capture at points in time. And we use that rich organisational learning then to put in place what we call people culture plans for those teams, in recognition of where are they doing well, and where could they really improve on. And we've developed toolkits then to support each of the key themes. So if, for example, a team needed to improve a little bit on collaboration and teamwork, there are resources in the toolkits then that we can work with the teams and with managers, in addition to a number of support mechanisms across the whole of the health board that we can put in place for them, to really ensure that things progress. So from a toolkit perspective, they support our cultural framework at that really micro level, but we also use our toolkits then and that intelligence that we get from that really team service level within the health board to feed into our retention work. So Denise and I look at those themes and look at that data and intelligence and piece it all together for our specific staffing groups and then for the health board as a whole to see how we're doing then at that organisational level. What we've also done, as Denise said earlier when she was talking about the flexible working project, is, and we've got a copy of it here, we've got a flexible working toolkit that we work with managers and staff sometimes, but managers in particular, to work through. That toolkit helps us really dispel some myths around flexible working. It tries to put some clarity around what it is and what it isn't. And in the same way, we've got a similar toolkit to support agile working as well, and to explain what flexible working is and what agile working is and what the difference is between the two. So these are some important resources that we use as part of our whole cultural progression piece, but they also really fundamentally support what we're doing from a retention perspective as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Karina. And just as a bit of a shameless plug here as well on some of the work that we've been doing in terms of retention and retention guidance from a HEIW perspective, but also as an internal perspective as well. So in Heal Thou, we do have a SharePoint page where we try and keep all the information that we have for signposting towards those points that Karina showed earlier around the action plan. So for example, our career development, our supporting retirement. So we have a kind of a holding space within the organisation where staff can go and visit, they can signpost, they can collect information, but also we have a national retention hub as well, which is created and hosted by HEIW. So this has all the guidance about some of the projects that are going on, not only in Heal Thou, but in wider organisations. So all health boards in Wales will have a retention lead equivalent, and some of the work then and guidance and information for specific staff groups as well within that. So not just nursing, AHP groups as well. So there's a lot of resources online that are fantastic that can be used if you work within sort of an NHS organisation in Wales. I would definitely recommend having a look at the national guidance and also finding out who your retention leaders within your health board as well, which, you know, we're all kind of part of a wider community of practice, sharing information and support, and we're there to kind of help. So please don't be shy, please reach out. If you don't know who your retention lead is quite yet, please feel free to have a look on the website, or you can contact myself or Karina afterwards. I'd be happy to signpost and sort of send any kind of you know, links or anything through if anyone needs them. And then just to finish off, I've got little sort of slide of all our team, of the RM team and the people culture facilitators, sorry, that sit within our sort of OD team, just to sort of say, hi, this is who we are and this is some of the work that we've been doing. So so thank you very much for your time. I hope it was useful and interesting, and if we've got a little bit of time, I'd love to open it up to the forum if there's any questions for Karina and I. I send you all into silence now. Brilliant.
Yeah, there's no questions here or online, I don't think, so thank you very much.
No problem at all. That's great. I can share the slides if anyone wants them as well after the session, if that would be useful. Mary, I'm not sure if I can't see the boardrooms. I can't see if there's any nods or not.
You can pass them on to me and then they can contact me if they want them.
Lovely.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem at all. Thank you.
So
Yeah.
we've ahead of time, so do you want to take a quick break? The next one is at 2:15, so it's up to you. The next one in here is about environmental arts therapy. So you can say, yeah. Okay, it's past, so I'll get started. Croeso everyone, this is going to be the last breakout session of today. We've got Manuela online. She's going to be talking about environmental arts therapy. Once again, fire escapes are clearly marked, and if you can just make sure your phones are on silent. For anyone who's online, can you just stay muted unless you're invited to talk? Yeah, 15 to 20-minute presentation, and then hopefully we'll get some time at the end for any questions. I think you already stated you have some questions, but yes, I will pass it on now to Manuela.
Oh, diolch yn fawr. Smai, Manuela Nimacek ydw i. Hello, I'm Manuela Nimacek. Croeso i'r cyflwyniad Dod at eich coed. Welcome to the Dod at eich coed presentation. Normally, I work bilingually, but because I'll be doing much more talking than I normally do, I'll present in English today. However, I welcome questions at the end in Welsh or in English. Dod at eich coed is the title of this presentation. It is a Welsh expression, of course, literally translating to return to your trees, with its meaning, as many of you may already know, relating to bringing a sense of balance or peace back to your mind. I think that captures the appreciation of what can happen between people and the natural world when we attune ourselves to a reciprocal relationship with it. I've been fortunate in my role as an art psychotherapist working in Betsy Cadwaladr University Health Board to develop environmental arts therapy in adult mental health. In addition to individual work, I run 2 bilingual groups, one for inpatients and one for community service users. For the inpatient group, I introduce where we are in the seasonal cycle and offer some environmental arts therapy themes. I bring in natural materials, which at this time of year would include what I would normally find on the forest floor. So damp and colorful and decaying leaves, seeds, acorns, soft moss with its earthy smell, things that capture this time of transition that the autumn season brings. While I am based in the inpatient setting, my role extends to the local community mental health teams, or CMHTs, who refer to the environmental arts therapy group that I run for community adult mental health service users. And it is this group that I will be focusing on. So what is environmental arts therapy? It's a form of psychotherapy described by Vanessa Jones and Gary Nash as having an integrative arts approach, inspired by the natural world, and has 3 main elements. It encourages and facilitates a movement into feeling through the body and senses by using natural materials and connecting with the metaphors reflected in the season. So it recognizes that the inherent metaphors of the seasonal cycles, loss, grief, rebirth, and growth, mirror those of the human experience. The second is that it works with the Celtic tree calendar, which places a tree and associated qualities and symbolism in each month of the turning year. And thirdly, it uses natural materials, for example, trees, earth, rainwater, wool, sticks, and also incorporates an integrative approach through storytelling, guided imagery, poetry, voice, and movement, as well as visual art making. A community environmental arts therapy group was established by Pamela Stanley in the Health Board in 2016 as a collaborative partnership between the Adult Mental Health Art Therapy Service and local CMHTs. After a period of absence due to my predecessor's retirement and the COVID-19 pandemic, I was able to start it up again last year in my role, with the service being one of the first in-person groups to take place in the community since the pandemic. This was also one of the reasons we allowed for it to be a slow open group, where referrals came in over several months until the group formed with 5 core members. I ran the group as I was completing my environmental arts therapy certificate training in Devon, which is based on the work of Ian Siddons Hegenworth. And I am fortunate to have a poster presentation about this as well at the conference. One important aspect of the delivery and development of the group was introducing bilingualism into a mixed language group of service users. So the model of delivery is bilingual. I introduced the group and end the group bilingually using short sentences with Welsh first and then English. Service users are welcome to communicate in the language they choose, and this may be translated or interpreted at times if appropriate. All admin and communication outside of the group is bilingual, except for the use of a quantitative measuring tool, which is only available in English for adults. As a Welsh learner, I was considering ways of running a group when there's a mix of languages among service users. And I was curious about finding an alternative to solely switching to English. The 2021 census shows 64.4% of residents in the Gwynedd area are Welsh speakers. And this is significant given that research shows that most multilingual people experience their identity, express feelings, remember memories, and process trauma differently in different languages. So my main aim was to honor this understanding around language and identity and try to create a sense of welcoming, inclusion, and belonging amongst diverse group members. The EAT group, or Environmental Arts Therapy group, became an alternative to existing services and was developed to offer treatment and recovery for service users, particularly those who may be considered difficult to engage. The referral criteria includes those with a history of complex, enduring psychological, emotional, and behavioral difficulties. Referral may be included in inpatients' discharge planning to facilitate a step-down pathway into the community. So I may have worked with them as inpatients, for example, or be offered directly to community service users who may never have engaged with art therapy before. However, it is helpful if service users have a bit of an interest in nature or the outdoors and are willing to try out a bit of creativity and group experience. Group members will all have made a decision that they want to join. The only thing we encourage is that they try and turn up and take part in whatever way feels right for them. I normally work with the service user's CMHT care coordinator to assess suitability for the group. I also meet up with the service user to involve them in the assessment and have a discussion about the group, describe what happens, listen to any of their aims, questions, or concerns, and go over any risks. Together, we can figure out if the group is a good fit for them and something that they would like to try out. Then I would link in with the care coordinator throughout the service user's time in the group with regular communication around attendance, review, and progress reports, as well as any risks or concerns I may have. And it is that for that reason that service users require a care coordinator for the duration of their time in the group. Being able to extend my role as an art psychotherapist into the CMHTs offers a specialist skill set within the multidisciplinary CMHTs. We are specially trained to work safely with artwork, often rich with metaphor, in the therapeutic relationship. The artwork, along with the therapist and client, forms the triangular relationship in art therapy. Artwork isn't analyzed or judged. It is more of a means of expression and communication, a space of exploration and imagination, and any meaning may be thought about together. And these are not necessarily fixed. They may change with time or insight. The artwork may hold ambiguity, ambivalence, or paradox in a way that words may not be able to express. It is powerful in its own right, but some may find that it also helps them understand and find words for what may be going on inside for them. Working with metaphors can also be an easier way for people to express their feelings or what may be happening in their inner world. These metaphors may be recognized. Sorry, I think I've lost my space here. Here we go. These metaphors may be recognized by a found object or in the landscape or created from the land or through an artistic expression, such as a poem or movement. Either way, it is an externalizing of something that may be held inside. The therapeutic encounter encourages finding the metaphor, embodying the process, and exploring the feeling. And there's a lovely quote here by Ian Siddons Hegenworth, who describes, "So much that is true to ourselves must be felt first by the heart before it can be understood by the mind." So there's a real valuing towards moving safely into feeling and being in order to build understanding and insight. By including the arts, which may be created and engaged with non-verbally, the therapy provides an alternative to using words alone and can open channels of communication and emotion that may feel otherwise too difficult. Service users can develop in how they work with the arts. They may approach it playfully, letting themselves go, and enjoy the process and opportunity to reflect alone and or with others. One service user shared at the end of the group that it was nice to be out in nature, but it's the self-expression. I find it hard to express myself in conversation, and being given the opportunity to explore various forms of creation, to display such things is good for my mind. It felt comfortable in the group to display how I felt, my true self. It was difficult at first, but then it felt good to share and open up. I still struggle, find it hard with words, but using the art to share really helped. So the group runs for 12 months, approximately every 2 weeks for 3 hours. It combines walking, creativity, and reflective conversation in a potentially restorative outdoor environment. Our group meets in a comfortable barn on a farm and has access to safe pathways to forests, streams, an orchard, hills, a good variety of wild and farmed or less wild spaces. A theme is offered at the beginning of the session, linked to the metaphors of the month and where we are in the seasonal cycle. This theme may resonate with service users, however, they are free to follow their own direction in the session. For example, now here we are in November. This is an invitation to connect with the silver birch and themes of gateways and the ambivalence of new beginnings, as endings are a part of them, as well as any affirmations for the new cycle. I normally check in at the beginning of the group for a half an hour by offering an opportunity for service users to reconnect with the outdoor space and find a metaphor or metaphors for how they are. The group then walks to a location in the natural surroundings for around 10 minutes and has almost 2 hours for creative expression and group reflection in nature before returning to the barn for the ending, which lasts around a half an hour. There is already quite a bit of evidence on the benefits of physical activity, such as going for a walk in nature. Mind, for example, notes that this can help with managing stress, improving sleep, mood, and confidence. We use the Warwick Edinburgh mental well-being scales, so WEMWEBs for short, to measure mental well-being at the beginning, review, and ending of the group to assess quantitative data. The results found that the scores went from a group mean in the below average range pre-group to a mean score in the average range at review, and ended with a group mean score in the above average range. Service users were also offered an interview at the end, along with a particular environmental therapy group questionnaire that looked at their experiences of the group, being in nature, involving creativity, the bilingual delivery model, any impact on their mental health and well-being, as well as achieving their aims. Service user feedback described the group as helping with their confidence, being with people, socializing, connecting to nature, creativity, motivation, communication, self-expression, exploring thoughts, feelings, and ideas, and being open about their emotions. It was noted how service users could notice their improvements over time, and one's improved confidence helped them volunteer and now plan to prepare to return to work after a long period away. One also shared their shift from turning to medication to treat their low feelings and now engages with nature instead. One service user shared, "I am benefiting from the group deeply. It enriches parts of me that aren't seen. The group gives me freedom, a chance to be myself, and safety." Another service user said, "The group has been a lifeline for me. It is so different to therapies that I've had tried in the past. It has helped me to deal with a lot of things, and doing so through the environment. It helped me look at things differently, and I've seen a difference in myself. I've left other therapies feeling exactly the same as when I started. And a final comment from another service user. This group gave me a safe, boundaried space where I can look after my mental health. For years, I was defined only by my mental health. Now I can use this group for my mental health and have another identity, a normal life outside of it. Professionals from the CMHTs and other services involved in service users' care were also asked for feedback. The benefits that the environmental art therapy group experience had on a service user's creativity, sense of connection, sharing, and feeling accepted by others was recognized. Feedback also acknowledged the unique alternative psychotherapeutic offering with the CMHT, particularly for those who may not be ready for other change-focused psychological interventions such as CBT, DBT, for example. The environmental art therapy group was valued as a place for people to explore emotions and have these validated in a safe, process-oriented group through a different modality. I recently completed my final report on the 2023-24 environmental art therapy group, and it was a helpful, reflective process to sit with the experiences of everyone involved and consider the future of the group. I'm planning on running another environmental art therapy group, which I'm really excited about. The MDT has had continuous referral queries for service users, and I'm hoping to begin the group early next year. I think as awareness of this kind of work has spread, various people and organizations have become inspired about bringing the arts, nature, and health and well-being together. For example, Wrexham University's Civic Mission is now working in partnership with BCUHB Art Therapies to develop environmental art therapy, both in the health board with venue funding and research, as well as in the community with environmental arts therapy themed or inspired arts and health and well-being projects with their various partners. The focus of the environmental art therapy partnership will be on treatment and prevention. This is in its very early stages, but there is potential to raise both awareness of this kind of work from a clinical intervention perspective, as well as engaging others outside this context with general interaction with the arts and nature for their wider well-being. One of my priorities is to also help ensure that this group has a sustainable future in adult mental health services. I'm also interested in developing my understanding of old stories and knowledge from this land and considering if and how these may be included sensitively and respectfully in the therapy. Another important development for the group is having a clinician who has protected time to co-facilitate the group with me. While this is a considerable time commitment, roughly 24 sessions over the year, it also provides an opportunity for skills sharing, which include areas of learning and experience around working with nature, the arts, bilingual delivery, and various psychological approaches. I am very fortunate to have a commitment from a psychologically trained clinician to co-facilitate the next group with me. However, a more permanent long-term solution would still be helpful, and this could include someone from the CMHT's MDT. Also, as I am based in the inpatient setting, I'm not always visible in the local CMHTs, which are spread out over a relatively large geographical area. I think it would be helpful to have a better presence in the CMHTs in order to help the MDT understand what the group is about and create opportunities to discuss potential or active service users in the group. The art therapy service in adult mental health is a small resource. However, it is worth building relationships with each of the CMHTs in order to be integrated within each service. The Environmental Arts Therapy Group is a unique and innovative form of psychological intervention, which service users attend and really respond to. Their feedback has demonstrated how meaningful this kind of work is for their mental health, treatment and recovery. Diolch yn fawr iawn am wrando. Thank you for listening and for inviting me to speak. I hope I've given a helpful overview of the work I do, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Did anyone have any questions? It doesn't look like we have any questions for you, but yeah, thank you very much. That was really interesting.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you so much.
Diolch. In that case, the next talk is back in the main room. That starts at 3. So it's up to you what you do. There's time for you to look at the posters or take a break.